It's really hard to feel sympathy when it comes to Mr. Hellman for how he treated the other characters. But in this episode, well, he is being put in the position, well, he really needs to work out the situation on his own without anyone else helping. Honestly, this is honestly the closest that people can relate to Mr. Hellman on trying to resolve an issue with someone else that is unable to process the important information on being really positive with someone else that honestly doesn't deserve it. But this episode isn't really torturous or mean-spirited. My so-called wife centers around Benjamin Edward doing a charity at a mansion for people to participate, and while Mac and Blue are participating as a team, Benjamin Edward mistakes Coco as Mr. Hellman's wife. Yeah, if I actually used this as the thumbnail of this review, it would have been out of context, but in context, after getting older, this doesn't really feel as humorous as it was. Through the majority of the episode, Mr. Hellman teaches Coco to be a mature person in any other way for the sake of trying to make cooperation with her. And while I do not like the idea of making a character mature because it's really difficult to accomplish, for a character like Coco, I can actually feel sympathy towards Mr. Hellman on where he's coming from, since this charity thing is really important to him. As with the plot between Blue and Max, since that they're also part of the charity competition, Mac teaches Blue what sarcasm means, since that Mr. Hellman told Blue that he's going to give him and Mac jet cars, which Blue doesn't understand. It was all sarcasm, so Mac and Frankie teaches him what sarcasm means. Truth be told, the fact that these two characters end up getting jet cars at the end of the episode, I'm left to think that after the credit sequence, Blue and Mac got off their jet cars and just figure out what sarcasm actually meant in Blue's point of view. If anything, it makes me think that Blue understanding sarcasm will probably go away, so it really feels like that this joke was funny at first, but thinking about what ends up happening afterwards, it's not possible. I would say that Blue is a lot more better in this, but considering that, spoilers, the following 3 episodes throughout this week will be centering around Blue, honestly, there was a lot more going on when it comes to Blue's character, and I think that Nani.the.tigress probably understand where I'm coming from when it comes to my point of view on Blue with new information that people just don't realize. So, with that in mind, I think more of my opinions on Blue will be more explored in the next 3 episode reviews. So when the 2 teams and other teams participate in a charity, it's entertaining to say the least, but just by witnessing Mr. Hellman attempting to cooperate with Coco, obviously it's not going to be easy, and judging the fact that Coco is mostly afraid of getting attention in some other way, honestly, in the last episode's review, just the fact that she is okay on getting exposure but not, she's mostly half stage fright but also half okay with it. I'm gonna go out on a limb that whenever Coco feels serious in some aspects, but when she's not, it's mainly her just being more expressive when it comes to her own make-believe world. But at the same time, considering that her own make-believe world is a lot more complex in the point of view of Mr. Hellman, I'm going to assume that the other Foster's characters do have make-believe worlds of their own in order to make themselves feel satisfied and happy. But at the end of the day, judging of how that Coco was this close of having her and Mr. Hellman win the charity, really showcases in the fact that later on she doesn't really learn anything, which is one thing if one imaginary friend has that, but since that multiple characters have that and not learning anything, honestly, it's difficult to take education from this show seriously whenever it showcases education. But despite her and Mr. Hellman losing, Coco still manages to save Mr. Hellman's life from dying. And honestly, if we actually see more of Mr. Hellman's nice side instead of being strict 24/7, then maybe he would have been more likable throughout the majority of the series, because with the majority of these series focusing on him being mean-spirited towards other characters, especially Frankie, then it's really difficult to see how he was when it comes to how he was portrayed in this episode. Now, the reward that Mac and Blue should have won is tons of money, but as it turns out, Benjamin Edward wasn't really a rich person whatsoever. He is a phony, along with this whole charity being a phony. And this is not even his mansion. And the rewards that Blue and Mac end up getting is mere garbage. And this leads to everyone going to prison since that someone else owns this mansion. But it didn't last long as they got released from prison. Compared to Cheese A Go-Go, where the characters got arrested unfairly, which, despite with some aspects of it being mostly true, them being released in prison is honestly a lot more justified since that they didn't deserve it. And I'm pretty sure that someone had this idea by having the characters go to jail again, but since that they just wanted to make Cheese A Go-Go too over the top and ridiculous, they just wanted to find other ways of just making everyone else miserable, while Blue just goes berserk of aliens coming down to Earth when it never happened. Overall, I think that this episode is decent at most, and mostly the best of Mr. Hellman's episode, probably next to Worldwide Rabbit. I'm just saying, the fact that I feel sympathy towards Mr. Hellman a lot more compared to that episode is saying a lot, considering that he's carrying the entire episode on his own, rather than just him being a victim of humiliation. Yes, he was humiliated in this episode when people mistaken him as Coco's husband, but at the end of the day, at least it doesn't continue on after this. And in comparison to Worldwide Rabbit, the humiliation that he got is being exposed all over the world. Which is more humiliating, but at the same time, he at least won something at the end by sheer luck. And mostly when it comes to sheer luck, he mostly doesn't get that much of it. Granted, the episode, he wants to stay control in Foster's is still not part of my list this week. Maybe next time when Nani.the.tigress requests me to do another week of this, if he or she is willing to, he might have me review that episode, but only time will tell, because I'm not sure if I'm going to review that episode for next year's Independence Day. I'm giving this episode a 7.25 out of 10.